I understand it's the fevered dream of Democrats right now that this Mueller investigation is going to somehow uncover massive corruption and it's going to be a huge deal. I don't think people care. I think people assume that Donald Trump is not particularly steadfast in his virtue, right? And that's why everything that gets thrown at Donald Trump is not really impacting things. Remember Stormy Daniels? Remember how everybody's like, oh, this is going to be a huge story, this Stormy Daniels thing. We got this 60 Minutes exclusive. And then you know what happened? Most of America shrugged. Most of America said, yeah, we figured Donald Trump wasn't faithful to any of his 3 wives. The fact that he might have slept with somebody else isn't surprising. The fact that a rich guy would pay a woman he slept with to keep his family from finding out about it didn't move the needle, just like it didn't do it for Bill Clinton. And that's because we all assumed it was true of Bill Clinton, just like I think we all assume it's true of Donald Trump. The same thing is going to happen with this investigation with Mueller. The people who hate Donald Trump are going to say, oh my God, he has to go. The people who love Donald Trump are going to say, you know what, he didn't have anything to do with this. He's not responsible for it. I'm just telling you, this is a sideshow, a carnival sideshow, right? And I don't understand why more intelligent people don't realize that. The New York Times did like a 40,000 word expose on Donald Trump's taxes. And you know what happened? Nobody cared. Nobody cared about Donald Trump's taxes because you know what they assume? Rich people pay as little amount of tax as they possibly can. And rich people have a lot better accountants than you or I do. So figuring out that that's true doesn't really change anything. Donald Trump didn't release his taxes. That managed to still get elected despite it. And that's because people just really don't care. Okay, so there's a lot of things that the national media gets obsessed with that the overall public does not become obsessed with. I learned this at a young age. When I was in college in Washington, D.C., I would read the Washington Post every day, and I would think that people cared a great deal about all the latest political shenanigans. And then I would go back home to Nashville, and I would realize how little people actually cared or were paying attention on a day-to-day basis because they got serious things in their life, and they don't really care in the grand scheme of things about all the day-to-day drama of D.C. This is something to entertain people who are obsessed with politics. The average person out there, the average voter, is not following it on a day-to-day basis. The funniest angle on this was the Saudi Arabia story. I thought the Saudi Arabia story was insanely interesting. The media covered the Saudi Arabia murder of the journalist in Turkey as a modern-day whodunit. The average American member of the voting public had no idea it ever happened, never cared. Okay? So sometimes it's important to take off your brain and recognize that you might care about something to a great deal, and then at the same time, other people do not. So the latest outrage or the latest attack upon civility or the latest propaganda piece that the president puts out, there's a certain segment of the population that's going to support him. There's a certain segment that's not, and nothing is changing.